This episode is brought to you by Beth Foot Forward, the story of a young lady who is walking the coast of Britain from lifeboat station to lifeboat station. Find out why and follow along in real time as Beth completes her amazing journey at bethfootforward.co.uk.
A wise man once said, Daniel,
Yeah?
people don't think it be like it is, but it do.
That sounds like we have an open mic. Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper.
Is that Travis laying down some tracks for us?
Oh, yeah. Pepper, pepper, pepper.
Well, we've got a brand new theme song playing this week.
There you go.
Maybe. Oh, hey, I didn't even think about that, Gary.
Yeah, keep it going, man.
Sounds like Country Bear Jamboree.
What does it sound like coming through the USB, Gary?
I never thought I would say these words, but I need to make Daniel just a little bit louder.
Listen to this guy.
How does
He's got jokes.
Now
You guys are having fun over there, Gary.
Yeah, I know. Hey, guys. Hi. Hey, yeah, you want to sit down and put on some? You want to hear what we're? There's 15 different conversations happening right now. Okay, their headphones are.
I have a request.
What's your request?
When you did your, I'm trying to remember the correct title, but your Mid-Atlantic accent for the old-fashioned news break.
Oh yeah.
How about doing an intro and let everybody know who's sitting here and where we are?
Welcome to another episode of Stories from the Trail. This week, Green Giant and Voldemort will engage in interesting conversation with a man by the name of Turnaround. You may know him from previous episodes of Stories from the Trail. Also joining us here in studio is Green Giant's trail boss and hiking companion and lovely wife, Gamera. And now, the show begins. How's that?
Wonderful.
It's like War of the World.
we need like some ragtime piano or something playing in the background over that. We'll see if we can make that happen later. All right, so let's really set the stage here. What's going on for I think pretty much everybody who's on the line right now, if I'm reading this list correctly, are people who have listened to the show enough to know that Chris, aka Turnaround, he's been on 2 previous episodes of the show. We talked to him the day before he started his thru hike, which was when? That was March, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did the Amicalola State Falls Approach Trail on March 30th.
Right. And then we spoke again when you were about halfway through the trail getting ready to begin your flip-flop, and that was Harpers Ferry, right?
Right, and that was in early to mid-July.
All right, so that's the last we really heard from you. So like other than a couple of spurious Facebook posts, and then your phone went dead for a while. We didn't really get a lot of updates from you, and we were kind of, for a while, like even wondering, is Chris even still on the trail? And then like 2 weeks ago, just in a blaze of glory, he returns with, I can practically see the finish line from here. And Chris just completed, I am proud to announce and to congratulate him on this, that Chris just completed his through hike of the Appalachian Trail, Tuesday of last week?
On October 23rd.
October 23rd. So congratulations.
Yay! Good going, Chris.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
So how many times have people asked you what's next?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
I haven't come up with a good answer yet.
Yeah, I don't think there ever really is a good answer to that. It almost seems to me like a rude question. You just completed one of your life's goals, like one of the ultimate achievements in your entire life, and the first thing people want to know is, okay, well, now how are you going to top that? But
yeah,
but
I have a built-in advantage. I was lucky enough to become a grandfather about a month before I left. The twins were born on February 14th, Valentine's Day. And so I became a grandfather. And I was able to see them a couple times while I was on the trail in the southern part. And it was kind of fun to go back there now and play grandpa with them. They're just a lot of fun to make laugh.
Nice. And you carry them around and pretend that they weigh about as much as a pack right now, don't they?
Actually, a little bit less.
Yeah.
And
each one?
But you carry me in the front.
What are your grandchildren's base weights?
I believe they're in their low 20s.
So do you want to take us on your journey?
Sure.
I know that the last time we talked to you, you were just days away from hitting Katahdin, and I didn't really get to hear about any of that experience. You want to just kind of tell me some of the highlights or what
Sure.
what that felt like? And
as we mentioned last time, I was offered a flip-flop from Harpers Ferry to Baxter State Park by a gentleman named Jeremy. And he was going up there and was very gracious. And he said, I'll drive you. And so he picked me up in Harpers Ferry, and we went up and camped in southern Maine and pretty close to the beach in an area that's called Kennebunk.
Hey, we know where that is.
Oh, and right by the interstate, got a nice little campground. And then the next day, he drove me literally to the front door of the AT Lodge.
Nice.
In Millinocket. And so I couldn't thank him enough. And that's how it started. And then from there, they kind of take care of everything you need because they do it just all the time. This is where the southbounders start. So this is how they often start. They come to that particular location, get shuttled in. It's really too far to walk from Millinocket to really do it. I'm going to guess it probably took us 40 to 45 minutes driving at pretty good speeds to actually get to where the trail is. The trail is, it deserves its reputation. Katahdin is not to be taken lightly. And I loved it. The weather was kind of drizzly, rainy, socked in, visibility was pretty low. So other than that, I enjoyed it. I think if I had been a Nobo still, I might have been disappointed in that kind of finish to go up there and not have anything. It was kind of miserable. And they had told us, they said that it's a very serious climb.
Yeah.
You're required to have a flashlight with you in case you get lost or get stuck on the mountain for any reason. And then as I went south, I heard more and more horror stories about what things people had witnessed during their ascents of Katahdin. So, to people who do it and take it lightly, I think you're going to discover sort of this true and really almost all the way through to get to the Whites is that you have to pay attention to the weather. And if you're out and exposed and you're in a thunderstorm or something, it's going to be really scary.
How did Katahdin compare from what you pictured in your mind to what you actually saw?
Amazingly harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really glad I was a thru hiker and that I was in shape, but the steepness of the trail itself was amongst the steepest I had seen. And that's just going up to the falls and above it. It's very challenging. Then once you get out on the
And that's
above
even with
tree line,
with 1,000 miles under your belt already. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah, it's a respectable climb. It is. And you can see why people overestimate, or let me get this right, they underestimate how long it's going to take them to descend, because coming down,
yeah.
if you have like any kind of ankle problems or something like that, it is a very difficult descent off of Katahdin. And once you do it, you go into the 100-mile wilderness. So you're kind of like, that was much more on my mind than Katahdin, because day hikers do Katahdin and you're a through hiker and you're not actually carrying your pack. So I kind of overstated it. For people who are maybe new at it and you're doing southbound, you need to respect Katahdin. But if you are a through hiker and you've done 1,000 miles, you're going to probably find somebody doing it in sneakers in front of you. And you'll be like, okay, if they can do it, I can get up here. But it's really, the 100-mile wilderness for me was much more of a challenge, because you're talking about, you have to take all the food to Katahdin, and then you have that night, and then you go do the 100-mile wilderness. And so you have to add that on the end. Whereas people who are coming northbound, they leave Monson, they're going to probably resupply at Able Campground. And I just didn't see the sense in just going one day up to Katahdin and then resupplying at Able. I thought, I'm good enough, I'll make it. But it's now extended that by several miles.
So you didn't take a zero between, you just went right into 100 mile.
Right into it.
Okay. And how many days did it take to go through?
I'm speedy, fast. Yeah. 11.
11 days. Wow.
Yeah, including my climb to Katahdin.
Now, did you carry all 11 days of food, or did you do the mid?
No, I just carried it.
You carried 11 days of food.
Yeah, there was some kind of problem
Oh my goodness.
with having it done. I believe it was something called a bucket party had occurred. And so they kind of put the kibosh on it.
I don't know what a bucket party is.
From what I understand, it was a group of people had gotten together with that sort of midstream supply, and they went out by the road and just got all their buckets and sat on them and had a party and just left a lot of trash.
Oh,
and rather than keeping it clandestine and something,
Yeah.
it just looked bad. And so the images of it caused someone who was involved with it to say, well, we don't do that anymore.
What we're talking about, for those who are unaware, in the 100-mile wilderness, it's named as such because there are no resupply points or access roads for at least 100 miles. I think it's like 106. And for years, there have been a couple of hostels, one at the north end, one at the south end, who have a deal with whatever logging company owns that private road that goes through the 100-mile wilderness. It's a locked, gated, gravel road. You're not going to hitchhike from it. So there are a couple of places where you used to be able to pay someone to drive in with a 5-gallon plastic food service plastic bucket full of whatever you can stuff in it, and it was like $50. And a lot of people would do that to because it takes a long time to go through. But how much does 11 days worth of food weigh?
I don't know. At that point I did realize I wasn't eating enough. So I would plan on 4 packets of oatmeal, pretty good handful of peanuts and raisins throughout the day, and then something like a Mountain House meal or something, or a ramen with protein. One of the ways I do it is they make the bacon on the salad dressing aisle. You can get like a 6-ounce bag of bacon, and it doesn't spoil, so you can carry it with you.
It's like bacon jerky, or
no, it's actually ground up bacon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
So throw that in pretty much anything, and if you like bacon.
Who through hiking doesn't like like bacon?
Yeah, I'm still okay with it. It's okay.
I know a through hiker who doesn't like bacon.
Oh shit, who's that? Is it you?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Tired of it, huh?
Megan doesn't like bacon.
Bacon's on everything now.
Okay, all right.
It's tired now.
I really don't think you're going to get a lot of
much.
support from this crowd. I really don't.
It's the pumpkin spice latte.
I don't know if you heard what Katie said, is the pumpkin spice latte of hiking food.
Yes, exactly. For me, bacon and plain freezer boring pizza, those are the pumpkin spice lattes in my world.
Yeah.
So think about how extra some people are with their pumpkin spice lattes. That's how I feel people are with bacon and certain types of pizza.
Okay. All right. Is there any bacon on we have a pizza waiting for us in the other room. Is there any bacon on that? Sadly, there's no bacon on this pizza. Megan, eat, just tear it up.
I'll eat bacon on things if it goes with it.
What about eggs?
Bacon and
bacon
Brussels
eggs?
sprouts. But not this shit about just put bacon on everything, put bacon on a salad. Why? Why would you do that? It's just weird to me.
Because it's bacon.
that's what I'm saying. That's not a good justification because it's bacon is not a good reason to put it on everything and in chapstick. Like, and air fresheners, those things exist. That's just weird.
Yeah, I agree with
As
you there. A
people
bacon
living in
air
the woods
freshener,
for-
I think, is.
So-
How would that work? Just like put liquid smoke on everything? Is that?
Just Google it. People have an obsession with bacon in this world. They really do.
I hate to hijack this conversation, but back to stories from the trail. We have breaking news.
Oh,
Breaking news.
yeah.
What kind of breaking news?
Did it? You know, breaking news. We have breaking news.
Oh, what is it?
Did you know that I got so sick of tuna, I couldn't stand it anymore? And they make tuna with all kinds of sauces. Apparently, the Starkist company is starting to expand, and they offer now chicken in those packets. Something that I was not aware of until the end of the trail. And a guy who was following me sent me a packet of 4 different ones. It's called Chicken Creations from Starkist.
That sounds delightful.
Yes, when you're really tired of tuna, it is delightful. And no bacon. I did not see anything that said
Well,
bacon.
No bacon.
Perfect.
So what's your opinion on? You said you got sick of the tuna.
Yes.
What was it was it just like the repetitiveness, or was it the flavors? Because I know there's a certain flavors that really turn my stomach when it comes to tuna.
I had a risk of psychoanalyzing myself. It was mushy. I was just kind of, everything I ate was mushy all the time. And so the bacon, sorry, but it had a texture to it that I could chew it, I could enjoy it. But, mashed potatoes and all these things are so soft and not, doesn't have any kind of to it.
It's like gruel.
That's why I just could not get, if you said the word
don't need
cheeseburger,
to eat
I
it.
would like rip your eyeballs out if you were like, where? I need a cheeseburger now.
Cheeseburger.
And yes, and let me tell you something about people who live in the north, Megan.
Oh boy, here we go.
I have it's a minor thing, but I consider October a fine time to be hiking in the northeastern section of our wonderful country. The weather's nice. Possibly the leaves are doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth are the state park, like I call them snack bars? Why are they closed? I'm counting on them. The general
I have
store.
a legitimate answer to that.
Okay, go shoot. I'm sorry.
Because
hear
the
it.
state, because Maine is a very old state, but the only people who work at the state parks, and this is just kind of generalized, so I shouldn't really say the only people, but a lot of the people who work at state parks are seasonal workers. They're oftentimes college kids who are here, they're home in Maine for just the summer. So they got to close down those parks and get those college kids back to school.
You don't seem to understand. I need a cheeseburger. I want a cheeseburger. If it says cheeseburger, there better be a cheeseburger there.
So that was your thing on the trail then? Like anytime there were cheeseburgers, that's what sucked you in. That was your
Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Ben & Jerry's ice cream and cheeseburgers.
All of them. I always tried something different. And finally I found something called Everything But the Kitchen Sink. And I went, oh, you're talking to me now. That was the last one I had though. I was like, all right, that's it. I got to stop because I'm going to be a pumpkin soon if I ate like I did on the trail.
A pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so Megan, yeah, but that's true like everywhere. So aren't people? I mean, when I was hiking, and I wasn't in Maine, I was much further south. So I'm talking like really everything after Labor Day. So where was I? Like started in like Massachusetts, I think, or I started coming to things and it was like closed. And you know where the half-gallon challenge is? At Pine Grove State
Furnace State
Yeah,
Park.
Yeah.
that one. The store was closed. No cheeseburger. Store was closed.
No cheeseburger,
Yeah.
no half gallon of ice cream.
I know.
Did you get your half gallon of ice cream somewhere else later?
No, to all those who have done it, I do not know why. It's just not a good idea. Your GI tract is not going to be very happy with you. So
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Fine. You just have to make sure you have enough toilet paper on you.
you're
It's fine.
You're fine. But why? Who says to themselves, I'm going to do something and it's going to make me go to the bathroom a whole lot? And you look at them and go, that sounds like a great idea. It just doesn't sound like a good. Now, if they paid you $10, I'm with you. I'm like, okay, give me some wipes. Let's go.
But you get a little wooden spoon. They give you a spoon.
I still
They
have
should
my
give you
little
a
wooden
roll of
spoon.
toilet paper. That's what they should give you.
They should give you a trowel.
I mean, okay, so
Well, there
hold
are
on.
showers that
I
are
have
right
questions.
there.
I have questions. Megan, I'm assuming you did it. Did you do it?
Did the half-gallon challenge, and then
You
I
did.
hung around for the rest of the day and polished my day off with a burger and an order of fries and a soda. And then I hiked out.
Oh, bless your heart. All right,
You
so listen.
remember
First,
I
details.
remember
I
it.
need details. Yes, I know right where you were, and I don't know. I just want to watch somebody do it. So I'm living through you. Okay, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching you. What flavor is the big container?
It was orange creamsicle. It was
Ooh.
disgusting.
That does sound disgusting. Wait, okay, hang on.
Awful.
You have a question at that point, don't you?
Well, why?
Thank you.
Yeah. Why?
Why did I do it?
Yeah. Why orange creamsicle?
Yeah, why you pick something you hate?
Because it was the least worst.
Oh, what was the alternative? Like butter pecan?
I
or
mean, the
something?
alternative was chocolate, but I did not like chocolate. I don't like chocolate ice cream.
Okay, hang on a second.
I'm with you.
Wait, hold on a second. Are we just now learning that Megan is both anti-bacon and anti-chocolate ice cream?
I'm not just anti-chocolate ice cream. I, as a general rule, tell people I don't like ice cream at all.
Chris, have you ever seen the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
No, I have, yes.
Yeah. Do you think that could be the possible scenario? What's going on here?
Yeah, we'll check for pots.
As you guys know, I've never seen that movie. So
What else
Yeah, it doesn't work,
floats
does
in
it?
water?
What's that?
I said, what else floats in water?
Oh yeah.
So what about
feel
your
like
smaller
which-
pint? Did you change it up for the smaller pint? Well, I guess all
That's
you
the
had was
thing.
chocolate.
I
So
didn't do a true half-gallon challenge because at the time I was not aware that I had to do another pint of ice cream after.
Oh.
So
So
you
you're just-
didn't get a spoon, I guess. And I'm dying to know,
Probably
what did you do with the
spoon.
spoon? Like, if they handed you the spoon, what were you going to do with it? I'd carry
I
that
don't
thing
know.
about 3 feet and throw it away. I'd hand it to some hiker, like, here, firewood.
I still have mine.
I freaking carried that
You
thing to
carried it?
Katahdin.
I do.
Oh,
I
good
think I
Lord.
mailed
Got
it.
it.
I mailed it.
Oh, you
home,
mailed
didn't
it
I?
home. Okay,
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
gonna
it. You had
carry it.
somebody to. Thank you, Katie.
I don't know. I probably
You
ditched
were
mine.
very
I probably
sweet.
gave mine to my parents, but I know I have it around here somewhere.
Bless your heart. Okay.
Yeah, I could find it right now. I could have that spoon in my hand in 2 minutes or less.
It
I know
would
right where is.
overwhelm
But
me
since
to
I
see it
didn't,
in
I
real
didn't
life.
know that I had to do an extra pint of the ice cream. So I didn't know that until like I had finished the trail. So I'm still saying that I completed the challenge because I got the spoon and I ate a burger after, and I ate fries and I had a soda after. I feel like I put
I
enough
see what
shit
you're
in my
saying.
body on that one
I
day.
see what I completely agree with you. It should be like kind of like maybe like a little asterisk, like she had a real good reason. Okay.
She's a section ice cream challenge.
Yeah. It's still impressive because it's like you're only short by a pint, and a cheeseburger is bigger than a pint. So she ate more food than.
Yeah, I mean it's a.
And it
It's, a,
probably may have helped your stomach to have something in there besides just.
it's
dairy
essentially
and
a pint
cream.
of liquid, right?
Yeah,
So
sugar.
it's just a beer, the equivalent of a beer
No,
glass
it's not
of
a
ice
pint.
cream.
It's a half a gallon.
No, I mean the part that's missing because the container's 1.5 quarts.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
Second-
then you need
second
that
one.
additional that little container's a pint.
Yeah, the
I
Ben
went
and Jerry's
with
size.
my big container was vanilla because
Why?
it's my favorite flavor of ice cream.
Oh, okay.
And it was a really, really poor choice. Actually, it was slim pickings that day, and you could tell. You know how you can tell that ice cream has melted and then refrozen because all of
yeah.
the syrup has sunk, like cheap ice cream too. It has that syrupy,
Ugh.
sugary gunk that it had sunk to the bottom and then re-solidified. So the first the half of the big container was almost like ice milk. It had very little sweetness to it, and I thought, I could just do this all day. And then I got to that thick, gooey.
Syrup.
It was like a block of caramel, like the size of a shoebox, that I just had to
Ugh.
hack through with this plastic spoon. Oh, it was so gross. And then after that, I went with a pint of mint chocolate chip because that's my second favorite flavor of ice cream. And
What is all these options? I had two options: orange creamsicle and chocolate.
Were you nice to the people when you asked?
There
Be
was
honest.
nothing else. They were all. I was very nice.
Did they check in the back for you?
Without there was only, I think it was only chocolate and orange creamsicle. I would have totally gone for mint chocolate chip or vanilla. I mean,
I think
if I eat ice cream, I like it to be, I'll if I have to inhale it, vanilla's easier.
I think somebody warned them ahead of time that some heathen who doesn't like bacon was approaching, so they hid all the good flavors.
Hey, there's some snob back there who only likes very specific pints of Ben and Jerry's. Give her the shittiest thing you have.
Well, we've had that orange sherbet for about 6 years.
I wish it was sherbet though. It wasn't even sherbet. It was the creamsicle ice cream. If it were sherbet, see, my issue with ice cream is the dairy piece of it. Like it's just too creamy for me. So yeah, but it's weird because I'll eat frozen custard because that's way creamier, or not creamy at all, and I'll eat like sorbet.
Now you're talking.
I'm just strange.
Is it possible that we could do like a little teaser to the food show that's soon to happen? Because now we've covered bacon, ice
for
cream,
sure, yeah.
cheeseburgers. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to do
Go
a food
on
show.
and on.
I seriously am. I will be glued to the podcast for the food show. Just I want to hear what it is.
It's gonna be our ASMR episode. It's just gonna be close mic of eating. It's gonna be for like an hour and a half.
Oh, so Chris, did you have one friend who was your favorite out of this entire trip? I know it's unfair to a lot of other people, but was there one person that you were like, I'm keeping up with this person?
You're keeping up with them. I think the person that I probably was so glad that they were there would be a woman that I hiked with in all the way from, I met her the first time April 15th I think we were in North Carolina, and she had this food bag with all these beer stickers on it. And one of them was from the town my daughter is in. So I was like, hey, you've been to Asheville? And she's like, yeah, I got a kid there. So I was like, oh my God, so do I. And she's about my age, and her trail name was Moxie, and no truer name for a woman. And so many times
You talked about her.
I talked about her
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we hiked together a lot, and it was just, she'd speed up, I'd slow down. We kind of crisscross each other a lot, and then we'd spend quite a lot of time together. So I went through some tough times with her, but it was probably longer. I then also, I met the people who gave me my trail name. Just every time I think about them, I laugh because they were just the funniest. I laughed all through Shenandoah hiking with them, and so their names are Laura and Christy. So did I get one of them?
So do you think if somebody asked them who?
He said he follows somebody.
Oh, no, I don't think he did.
No,
you knew,
that's
you were following.
good friends
someone.
are hard to come by.
Yeah, I mean,
a
lot. Oh
and
man.
On that, what I really want to say is, every now and then you fall apart.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah,
I need you now tonight.
yeah. They gave me my trail name. That's definitely Laura and Christy. And it makes me laugh every time. It really does. And every time I get lost, I go, man, they nailed it. They absolutely nailed my trail name. And for a while,
Did they sing it?
yeah, they totally sing it. And it's like,
That's awesome.
yeah, Christy is, oh my God, she is so awesome. You got to hear what she's doing. She's like 25 or 26.
Okay.
She was a school teacher. And so we kind of got along. But the thing is, she's real like my sister. She's really bossy. She gets my attention and she's like, you do what I say. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. And she kind of figured that out real easy. She's like, wow. But it was always kind of funny. It was always fun stuff. So all through Shenandoah, like she would start singing that song and I would just start laughing again. And I would be like, it would stop me and I'd have to be like, am I lost again? Because I got lost so many times. And I finally ran into a husband and wife, and they said, you get lost all the time? And I said, yeah. And she goes, is it because you're not paying attention, because the trail is poorly marked, or something else? And I said, yes, and yes. But I never, ever broke. Wait, can I have the breaking news?
Oh,
Thank you. I made it through one state and did not get lost one time.
Oh, was it Maryland?
Maryland, yes. Love me some Maryland. Everybody I ran into, I went, am I going the right way? Am I going the right way? And they all look at me like, seriously? I'm like, yes, I need to know. Am I going the right way? And I did it all through Maryland. Did not get lost one time.
Back at the beginning of the show, I teased you with a mention of Beth Foot Forward. This is the story that's actually unfolding right now. She's 2 weeks into her journey. This young lady by the name of Elizabeth is walking counterclockwise around the coast of Britain. Just take a wild guess how long you think that is. No one's really sure because no one's done it before, but some quick Googling shows me that it's about 11,000 miles. Why in the world would anyone do this? Well, there's a whole lot of information on her website, including stories and photographs as her journey unfolds. I suggest that you go and bookmark this thing and check it on a regular basis, because she's doing this right now, and it's really cool and interesting. BethFootForward.co.uk. She's also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of those places. Beth Foot Forward is our shout out for this episode, thanks to the contribution of an anonymous patron at the Triple Crown level. You too can get a shout out either for yourself or someone you admire by going to patreon.com/storiesfromthetrail. Now back to our hangout with Turnaround. So what's the longest you walked in the wrong direction?
I don't. There's some numbers that I know for sure, but I may have surpassed them other times. In the 100-mile wilderness, I know I went on a trek that was pretty epic. But I'm pretty sure, based upon a map in the Shenandoah, that I walked 3.5 miles the wrong direction, and then had to walk 3.5 miles back to the trail.
That's not too bad.
Well, it was really downhill and really uphill.
You're going to get both of those when you have
That sounds
to
like a slap in
around.
the face.
I know. but you know what happened? Like,
Response is like, oh, that's not too bad. And I'm like, it's the end of the world. I'd give up my hike at that point.
But this is the deal, Megan. I get back on the trail. I go like not even maybe an hour, and I come to a wayside, and who's there but Laura and Christy? They go, "We ran into you. We have a trail name for you." And I'm like, as long as it's not anything stupid. And they told me the turnaround name, and I went, oh yeah, no. But then the people pulled up who knew I was lost and went, "Hey, you're the guy who got lost." And I was like, ugh, it's sticking. And it just did.
I didn't realize that 3.5 miles was that particular turnaround.
Well,
so.
there was a map. And so I could look at it, and I used my thumb. My thumb was exactly 1 mile. And I went, 1 mile, 2 miles, 3. And when the lady came over, she's like, "I know where the trail is." And I went, "Is it 3.5 miles?" And she went, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
That's
and I
about
was
right.
Like,
3.5 thumbs.
Yeah.
That way.
So that was verifiable. I could kind of go, yeah, I know I went about that far. But the others, more like time. Like one time it was a couple of hours maybe. So, and I was along a riverbank in the 100-mile wilderness, and I was booking along until I finally went, I haven't seen a white blaze in like forever. So
yeah. while we've got stats on the brain, did you keep any stats? Did you write down any interesting, like, oh, here's the number of moose I saw, or did you count anything? Or
I did.
What did you tally up along the way?
Many people asked me about mushrooms, and I was keeping track of how many different mushrooms I had, and I realized that I don't know mushrooms enough to know if I made a photograph of 2 different mushrooms or just the same one in a different light.
Oh, okay.
So I got a lot of mushrooms, but I'm going to have fun with it. It's a little project for me. Is I'm going to go and explore and see what on earth is this thing that I photographed.
Have you tasted any of them?
No, I am not that daring. But I did learn this, which I don't know if it's true, that if it's growing out of wood, like out of an oak tree or something, it's okay to eat it. But if it's growing out of the ground, you need to be very suspicious of it.
Oh, that's an interesting. Well, chicken of the woods is always.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
Coming soon, the food episode.
What is your thought on mycology? Tell us your ecology.
Mom's side of the family is kind of big into that. Like my grandmother was always picking mushrooms, and I did a little bit of research on it. I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, not like intensely or anything, but I saw a mycology book. I mean, it must be, but I don't know what it was called, honestly. But it was all about edible mushrooms. Anyhow, is thick, like 2 inches thick. Like it was. I just can't imagine that general rule of thumb could get you into a lot of trouble based on just the number of species that are out there.
Well, and there are so many. I have a mushroom book that, I think it's a field guide to mushrooms, the Audubon Field Guide to Mushrooms. It's several hundred pages, and in almost every single mushroom description, it says whether it's edible or not. And somewhere in the text of that description, it says, "Warning, has a deadly look-alike." And that's like almost every edible kind has some kind of deadly look-alike, or something that will poison you and make you ill for a long time that looks exactly like it. You need to be like super, super 100% sure that you know what you're about to put into your mouth.
And when you asked me if I did, I said no.
That's right. Yeah. You've not sampled any of the.
I wish I knew because when I was hiking or when I hike now, I see so many mushrooms out there. But I mean, I have been mushroom picking with family members many, many times, and I don't trust myself because I'll see mushrooms in the woods that I will think, oh, that for sure is edible. I know that is because I've seen my mom pick that exact one, and this is the edible mushroom, right? And she's like, no, it's not. It's the one that looks like it, but it's not. Also, Jason just wrote in our chat. Did anybody read that?
What's that say?
I stumbled in the middle of what I was saying because I was trying to hold back laughter because Jason said all mushrooms are edible, but some only once. It's very true.
That's true.
So Chris,
I'm here.
You know, I mean, this is kind of cliche, and I'm guessing the answer is yes, but I'd like to know why. Do you think you're a better person now because of this?
I wasn't ready for that question.
Wow, I don't think any of us were.
Am I a better person?
Deep.
I would.
I mean, if you were to think about it,
Yeah.
why would you be?
That's an easier question. How would one become a better person coming off the trail? Seeing how much love is on the trail is absolutely amazing, and it's all over it. And if you don't have love in your life, when you go along this trail, you will experience it. I saw it from, different backgrounds of people who they have nothing in common with you other than their son a couple of years ago through hiked, and they were so proud of him. And now you are eating the most delicious food you have ever had. And they look at you and they go, is there anything I can do for you? And you're like, no, I'm in heaven and you're an angel and I'm absolutely fine. Yeah. Well, are you sure? Because we have more heavenly delights available for you. and at times you're sort of pinching yourself like, is this real? But then after going the trail, you realize these people are real, and they do it because they have a big heart. And sure, I suppose somebody could make it all the way there and still be a cynic, but I somehow not unless they want to be. But if they wanted to change, they will. The trail will change them. The second thing is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, I think the big thing that you as a hiker have to develop to be successful is you have to develop a level of focus, of simplicity. What exactly do I need to do? When do I need to do it? And when you do that, you'll be successful. It's when you let 15 things all happen at the same time just overwhelm you is when you begin making bad decisions. But if you say to yourself, okay, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Is it this crazy rainstorm that just won't end and I just need to get out of it? What exactly do I need to do to get back to homeostasis? And that's what you experience on the trail is a level of homeostasis where your body is in sync with nature and you're just cruising along like a little machine and just as happy as can be. You're not hungry, you're not thirsty, you're just cruising. And there's this scenery passing by you that is absolutely amazing. And your senses, you're like, oh, I hear traffic, or is that an airplane, or is that somebody mowing their lawn, or am I hallucinating? I'm sorry, I was talking about being focused. No, some people go through life, they're kind of cynical, and you know what I'm talking about. They just kind of have a bad attitude about life. Life sucks, blah, 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 right? What I'm saying is that when they get out there, they're going to really see what sucks and what doesn't, what they're complaining about because they just want to be whiny, and what is really something to complain about. And what will happen is when they reach a moment where they're like, I haven't been happy in a while, the trail will provide happiness to them. It can happen in 1,000 ways. And the more open you are to them, the more likely you are to see them. They're right in front of you. We even spoke of them. The glory of bacon. The fact that there was no bacon and whatever it is that you are seeking, it's there. But if you're a cynic, you won't see it. But if you open yourself up to it and you go, all right, love is here. Where is it? You'll see it in all the people you meet. If you have a real problem, somebody can look at you and they'll be like, brother, you got a problem. And they're not going to leave you. They're not just going to blow by you. The trail's going to take care of you as long as, you take care of yourself. And that's a big thing. You learn about you as you hike, and as you're becoming a machine. It could be your feet my feet stopped talking to me. sometime in Georgia, they were like, "You're not listening. We're not talking anymore." And I was like, "Fine, I'm not talking to you anymore either."
Can you feel them? Can you feel your feet?
My feet are. I lied to my feet too many times, and they said, "We're not listening anymore." So then I had to go the other way, and I had to be very honest with my feet, and I had to just every day at 12 o'clock, I take them off and I talk to my toes, and I go, "All right, toes, here's the deal. This is the plan. This is the way it is. Get over it. Socks are going on in 30 minutes. You can wiggle at pleasure." And they wiggle and they do what they do, and I eat my lunch and stuff. But at 12:29, when I look at my watch, I'm like, "Here come the socks," and they're like, "No!" And I'm like, "You cannot complain. I told you 12:30, and that's the way it is." And then other times, the breeze blows and my little tootsies are just so happy, and they're like, "We're talking," and I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna be angry later. I just know it." So that was my feet, and I got more from there. So,
Oh, jeez.
Well, I fantasize about that. I fantasize about the self accountability.
ooh,
And
I like that.
I wish it was that simple for
Travis, let me tell
the
you a
normal,
story.
the normal person.
I'm not. I am not the smartest hiker. Now I carry fuel because there's this thing that God has blessed us with called coffee, and every morning for 208 mornings I had coffee. Did not miss it once. But I have to carry fuel. But I'm not smart enough to remember to buy fuel when I'm in town. And so sure enough, somebody hears my thing go, psh, and I go, "Oh man."
Oh, that's the sound of your spirit just
Yeah.
deflating.
And some day hiker's like, "Here, I got a fuel can. You want it?" And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." I am not sure if I was gifted more fuel cans or if I bought more fuel cans over 2,000 miles, because people
It's the
were
little things.
yeah,
It's
and they
the
could see it in my
little
face.
things. It's the little things. Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is.
I got a stove in Shenandoah from Christy.
Oh, no kidding.
My stove igniter just stopped working right in front of her. And I was telling the story of what she's doing. She's going to countries and doing ministry work. And she's in Chile. And then next month, she's going to go to Africa, to several different countries.
Sweet.
And kind of all around the world, to Asia and so forth. And it's really awesome. She's like 26 and just going to spend an entire year just traveling like that and spreading the word of God.
Wow.
That's awesome. So she gave me her stove. And then the last day on trail, I was hiking with a guy that I'd hiked with for about 2 weeks. And he was not going to drink coffee, but he was trying to beat cigarettes.
Oh,
And he had gone about 2
luck.
weeks. He was doing pretty good. And he came up to me and he was like, "I had coffee this morning." And I was like, "How was it?" And he was like, "Really nice." And I said, "Okay." So it was my last morning on the trail and I made coffee and I said, "Would you like some?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he says, "I'm getting me a stove. Got to do it." And I gifted the stove
nice.
that Christy had given to me. I gave it to him
Excellent.
with fuel and a pot so he
All
could
right.
have hot meals from now on. So the trail provides. I didn't need it anymore. And Christy had given it to me, and now I gave it to him.
Nice. What do you think about the phrase "hike your own hike"?
It's kind of like saying breathe at the rate you breathe at. How could you not hike your hike? If I decide I'm going to go 25 miles and you go, no, then we're not going to be together. I'm going to be whatever X amount of miles ahead of you. So you're always deciding how far you want to go. Now, when you hike with someone, you might discuss it and make allowances, like you might stop earlier than you plan to, or you might have to push yourself to stay with that person. I do see people doing that. The only ones I see consistently hiking together were romantic couples in their 20s.
Oh, okay.
And they usually would be somewhat close to each other. But other than that, everybody kind of goes at their own pace.
Yeah.
And that's just pace. It doesn't include all the other factors of how they go about doing a thru hike. It's kind of like trying to describe music. It's like, well, it could be this or it could be something completely different than what you're used to.
I like the music analogy. Yeah. Like jazz would be ultralight. Heavy metal would be like the guys from the military who carry their rucksacks and their 3-pound boots. Yeah. I don't know. Just
I have no room to
Would
say.
heavy metal be Pennsylvania?
oh, dude, because it rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Wacka.
Okay.
Wackadoo. Wackadoo.
Lord.
Travis.
Yeah.
Can we talk? Let's talk about Pennsylvania for a second. But actually, before we get to Pennsylvania, I want to go back. This is what we were at right after we finished talking about mushrooms. Right after the mushrooms, Travis started asking deep philosophical questions. Coincidence?
Well, during the time, I just realized that mycology is mushrooming.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. All right. Okay. We're doing bad puns, are we? It's I don't know. It's a growing field. It's
You're such a fun guy.
Huh? Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Blah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Travis, are you a thru hiker?
I really did have a question, but we'll come back to it. Travis thru hiked from Turkey Pen to Mount Pisgah last summer.
Oh, I got it. So, just for my information, like, how many times have you been like backpacking before? Like, I go all
Me?
the time.
Yeah, talking to you, Travis.
Like, I go all the time.
Oh, me? Oh, I'm probably like 30.
Oh, so 30 days you've spent outside in a tent and after backpacking.
Yeah, I'd say that's maybe more, but that's a conservative guess.
Okay, got it. So I would place you as a pretty experienced backpacker.
Yeah, I could through hike. Right
oh,
now,
absolutely.
You know who Travis is, right?
I totally would fit.
I didn't remember his resume, to be honest with
Okay,
you.
I wasn't sure if you knew who.
Travis, one thing about a thru hiker, take one look at them across the room, you can tell they're a thru hiker, but by their voice, you can't really tell.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
you can't really smell him through the internet.
Yeah.
Well, I get the feeling that thru hikers, when they come out, they have the same allergy to bullshit. You know?
Oh man.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I have that anyway, and I feel like that's kind of the common ground that I have with thru hikers, because, you know, when it's you against nature, everything else, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. It's and that's very freeing. And when you minus the cell phone, you minus the car and the bills and the other relationships other than the 3 or 4 that you have at the moment. I would imagine, I've never done a long hike like you guys have, but I would imagine that it just simplifies life. And you know, I spend a lot of time inward myself, and I can only imagine like the real way that you can find yourself when you're on the trail. And I'm so envious of all of you guys for that, because that's peace, I think. Understand.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice being a secret badass.
Secret. That's a good way to put it.
You had a question when we.
I don't.
Yeah, because
you know,
it comes up occasionally in conversation, but like I don't just go around like wearing a shirt that says I'm a thru hiker. Ask me about my hike. Like I've since I'm leaving my job, I've been here for 2.5 years, and there are people who I've spoken with in those 2.5 years consistently that didn't know I thru hiked until I recently, you know, happened to come up in conversation, and they were like, their minds were blown. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a thing that I did. It's kind of nice having that as like I'm a secret badass, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Thru hikers we're secret badasses.
Yeah. Imagine having that on your resume for the rest of your life. Yeah. You're like, okay, what have you done that you've accomplished? It's like, I set out to walk 2,190.9 miles and I did it. It took me forever, but I walked across that bridge and said, I'll be damned, I did it.
And then of course, the follow-up question that any sensible person wants to know is why? Why did you do this?
I was convinced without a doubt that I was going to have fun. And I am still convinced without a doubt that there is no way you can thru hike the AT and not have fun. You're just, I don't know how you do it, because it is just, the people are amazing. They're funny. I'll tell you a story. When we were coming south, sometimes you would run into people and they would just kind of look at you like, what on earth are you? And you just kind of look at them. And if you ask them any question, it's almost like don't assume you speak English.
Sure, yeah.
They just kind of look at you like, it talks.
I'll confess, like you're okay. No, I would, I want to say your appearance is startling. It's not startling to me because I see a lot. Well, you've lost a lot of weight since the last time I saw you.
I lost 20 pounds.
You lost 20 pounds.
Calves are amazing.
You have these bowling pin, like muscular calves that you could, like, you look like you could just without even bending your knees, using just by flexing your toes, you could leap over this house. You have these giant muscular calves, but your face is kind of fucked up.
Thank God.
Your cheeks are a little sunken. You've got this scraggly beard. I can tell you've trimmed it recently, but yeah, I mean, people see a thru hiker coming and they kind of go, just like you said, what is this? What is this?
My favorite, without a doubt, is that I would drop my pack someplace. It's safe or whatever, and I'm going to go do my thing. And my thing, I found out, Travis, if you had asked me this before I traveled, I would have been like, what? That makes no sense. I became addicted to libraries.
Oh.
I am like, is there a library here? Yeah. I just go in a library and I'm like, ah. And let me just say this. Rules about what you do with your pack vary from library to library. Please stop at the desk and say, hi, I'm a thru hiker. What would you like for me to do with my pack? Yeah. They like that a lot. But the oldest library in the United States is in Salisbury, Massachusetts. And it has a clock tower with a bell and so forth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's like, you kind of go in there and it's like the seats are leather and there's a fireplace and that's in the library. It's like so awesome.
Is it haunted?
It's 1803. So let's see how many.
Is there a high occurrence of ectoplasm in the reading room? Oh no! Wait,
I haven't seen the remake, so don't ruin it for me.
That's in the bathroom.
Left for a minute and somebody crossed the streams.
Travis. So let me ask you this: since I want to talk about how your relationship with the trail may have changed now that this is over. Do you feel like giving back to the trail in some way? Have you thought about this?
Yeah, I think my priority right now is sort of adjusting back into what most people call real life. And I'm like, no, I think real life is actually what's on the trail.
Yeah.
And this is just sort of a pseudo thing that's been built that we're sort of navigating our way through. And you got to remember the rules. And the rules are like, for example, I recently went to Walmart. And when I walked in, right in front of me are people with machines and they're hanging up happy holidays and Christmas balls and stuff. And I'm just sitting there for a moment just watching this. And I realized I had stopped in like the entranceway where all the people are like, hey, get that out of the way. And I'm like, oh, right, not on the trail anymore. You just don't stop. You got to think about, where am I going to stop? And I never thought about that before. You can't just
take 2 steps to the left and pee.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, that's a big one.
That's what I just said. You're not going to go there.
Yeah,
you're going to go somewhere else.
Your social norms have changed because your social situation has changed.
Exactly.
So in what ways have you changed? Not in the open-ended, are you a better person way, but like specifically, like what things are you doing differently or thinking differently, or how's your behavior changed?
I think just being around my grandkids is like, I'm kind of like trying to remember what it's like to raise a child. And 2 is so much harder than 1.
Okay.
So Travis, tell your mother, I deeply, deeply feel for that woman.
People have been saying this to Travis's mom forever.
I watch my daughter with her children and I'm just like, how do you do this? And it is like, I had 1, which I thought, but now looking at 2, 2 is what's the exponentially harder? Is that the correct term?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Sure.
Especially when they go different directions. You're like, okay, which one's going to get to danger first? and thinking that quickly while they're moving, you're like, I better make a decision now.
What is going on here? Oh, Travis, is that Travis posting pictures? There's a tent in the woods. Who's that?
Man, I want to be there.
Yeah, it's amazingly beautiful when you fall asleep every night and you realize your body's in sync with the temperature as it's dropping. So as the sun starts going down, the temperature starts dropping, your body starts kind of going, oh, we're doing that slowing down thing here. And you'll feel it. And especially if you try a night hike, you'll kind of feel like part of you is like, I thought we were going to bed.
Yeah.
And that for people who consistently night hiked, they found themselves taking naps during the day.
Okay,
during the
nothing
heat of
wrong
the
with
day.
that.
Yeah, which that was their kind of a way of adapting, and it was definitely a workable solution to like the hots of Virginia. But going southbound, you really don't see people doing much night hiking. I think it's just the terrain just doesn't afford it. I rarely saw somebody night hiking for longer than maybe an hour after sunset.
Something that you do with a group.
Yeah, for sure.
And Sobos are not in the groups like Nobos are. Sobos are much more spread out.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you too. So you did, basically you started traditional Nobo, mid-March heading north. Excuse me. We'll cut that out. And then for the
was him, not me.
The second half of your hike, you basically mirrored, traditional the Sobo starting time, right? Was it July?
Yes.
So July. So you were going kind of with the Sobo bubble, if there even is such a thing. A lot of those people are still on trail now, working their way down south towards here.
Yeah, they're in Virginia.
Yeah, there was a question in there somewhere too, and I can't remember what it was.
Yes, you are correct. I did the south going north, and I did the north going south.
So, I know. I was just kind of trying to lay the groundwork for, you did a little bit of each of the traditional routes, including the start. You could say that you did the first half of a Nobo and the first half of a Sobo. What were some of the differences?
The communication that you can do along the trail is because you're meeting people that you hiked with before.
Oh, that's right.
You're like, hey, where do I stay and what's coming up and that kind of stuff. And it starts, pretty much by the time I got to the Bigelows in Maine, I was hitting the faster Nobos that had left with me. And somehow I had run into them and hiked with them and stuff.
Okay.
You recognize them.
You're only seeing them for 1 minute, right?
No, depending on how good of friends you are, it could
You'll stop and
yeah. Oh yeah. Depending on I got all kinds of beta information about what was ahead. What were good places to stay, what was the terrain like, things like that. That's a big plus of going and seeing people because you trust them. Now if you ask day hikers the same questions you ask of through hikers, you're gonna get completely different answers. And in a lot of places, for me, it was like, it looks like there's a long stretch with no water. Is that right? And a Nobo would be like, yeah, I haven't got water for like 12 miles. So, you're going to trust them versus a day hiker. You'd be like, where can you get water? They'll be like, my refrigerator back in the...
Hey, Chris, I'm not sure if we asked, but did you start at the bottom and then stop halfway and then come down from the top?
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I can't.
No, you flip-flopped, right?
I flip-flopped.
I thought you were trying to be silly.
No, seriously. Did we mention like the logistics of Chris's hike?
I think we talked about that briefly on the last time you were on the show when you called in.
Yeah, I can recap it real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
I started I thought we did this
I thought so too, but go ahead. And
I started in...
It's always good to have this.
March.
And I'll keep talking over it as you try to... Sorry.
I summited Mount Springer on April 1st. I looked at the plaque, which is way over on the side next to the edge. It's not in the middle of the mountain as I looked for it for 20 minutes. Finally found somebody's like, excuse me, do you see a white place? And the guy just looked at me and goes, it's right there. I'm like, oh, this is an auspicious start. So off I go, heading north. I get to Harpers Ferry, and there was an old saying. Some friends of mine did the trail 30 years ago, 1988. Cat and Ron. And they said, if we're not into Harpers Ferry and gone north of Harpers Ferry by July 4th, they were going to drive to Maine and come south. And I went, that sounds good to me. So even back in 1988, they had the flip-flop. So when I got to Harpers Ferry, a gentleman named Jeremy said, are you looking for a ride to Maine? And I said, yes. And he said, would you like to ride in the comfort of an F-150 pickup truck that's brand new? And I said, yes. Would you like for me to pay for everything? And I said, yes. Is it okay if I drop you off at the front door of the AT Lodge? Yes. So we had a yes agreement. And Jeremy, God bless you, all he wants to do is hike the trail in the future. And I'm like, dude, you scored some points. And he took me to the front door of the AT Lodge in Millinocket.
And it's just some guy, just some random.
He was going there for business.
Perfect.
Yeah. So then I started south in Maine, kind of with the Sobos a little behind them. I didn't have the bugs, thank God. And I loved it because Maine builds. It gets harder and harder the further south you go. Once you are in Maine, New Hampshire, welcome to the Whites. And the Whites, you go straight up. I can't even tell you. It's like I looked at it and I went, that is nothing but up. And you go up, 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 up. Stop. Wipe your face. Up, 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 up. Stop. Wipe your face. Up, 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 up. I'm going to run out of water before I get to the top of this thing. Oh, and there's never water at the top of anything. Water's always at the bottom. And so you're like going, am I going to make it over here? Of course I am. And so what I would do, and this is the secret ingredient, you check the hiker box in Andover, Maine. And in there will be about the size of maybe the palm of your hand. It'll be pink. And that'll be an MP3 player. And you're going to take that and you're going to hook that to your headphones. And some 14-year-old girl will introduce you to Nicki Minaj. Hang on. Kesha. I could do me some Kesha.
Kesha.
Nicki Minaj, Kesha, Cyndi Lauper. Girls want to have fun. If I got to get up a mountain, I'm up there and I can go. I can climb like an animal. You wouldn't believe it. I was like, here we go. And people are like, they're kind of with you because the Whites are real popular when I went because it was like summertime and that's like the hike to go to. So I'm out there with like all these kids and I don't realize that when I have my earphones in and I'm singing like the Kesha words, the kids know I'm singing Kesha words and they also know like there's bad words. And so I got to be real careful and be like, oh, I ain't going to say that word around the children, but I'm going up the hill. And you know, we're going to die young. See, now if you could lay that in over there. And
so this confirms my theory that usually about 3/4 of the way through your through hike, you just go completely mad and lose your mind.
Travis.
Or Chris is not a fuddy-duddy.
Here we go, Travis. This is your challenge. We're going to do this live. Do you have access to YouTube?
Of course.
Okay, well, I want you to go on YouTube and you're going to YouTube search "The Club Can't Handle Me Right Now." All right?
Oh, no.
Just listen to about the first 30 seconds or so and then come back to us and go, yeah, I can climb to that.
It'll probably cut my headphones out and then I won't hear you guys.
Okay. Well, just if you are ever in a bad mood, you can't listen to that and be
That's
like.
probably worse than hearing you guys. Anyway.
Aw. We have one more shout out for this episode, and this time it's one that I want to give. This shout out goes to my Aunt Nancy. Aunt Nancy is my mom's sister, and from as early as way back when we were little, my brother and my cousins and I all knew that she was special. Aunt Nancy can't see, and she has superpowers. You know how Rain Man is really good at counting cards? Well, Aunt Nancy's superpower is music. So pardon me for a moment while I give a shout out to Aunt Nancy. Hi, Aunt Nancy. It's your nephew, Gary. Remember when we were really little and Jimmy Chucks was too, and we'd sit upstairs with the record player and the tape recorder, and we played a game that we were radio disc jockeys? Remember when we used to pretend we were on the radio? Well, look where we are now. Hope you enjoy the show, Aunt Nancy. Tell Doreen I said hi. Doreen's my mom. Okay, now back to the show. Okay, so we kind of lost our way in the Whites when we picked up the MP3 player.
Yes. Okay. So we're in the Whites. That begots the lower part, which is you pretty much go out of New Hampshire into Vermont, and you're kind of going just straight south. And it's a lot more. There's a lot more around you that you're aware of.
When you were in Vermont.
We called it Vermud because it was raining. It would rain and rain and rain. And then finally you'd stop and you'd be like, all right, I've had enough rain. It needs to stop. And for one day it would, but all that water would collect on the trail. So you're still walking and you hear this with every step you're taking.
It wants to keep your shoes.
I actually stepped one time. I thought I was stepping on a rock, but it wasn't. And I went into about my knee. And so when I pulled my foot out, the only thing on the end of my foot was my sock about ready to fall off. So I grabbed my sock in my right hand and I just plunged my left arm into this hole that's disappearing. And I'm like, I really need my shoe. And I reached down there and grabbed it. And I'm like, pull it for all I'm worth. The more I pull, that Einstein guy or whoever it was, no, it was Newton who said, the more you pull yourself into the mud. He was right. Now I'm laying there and I'm like, I got my ear, like I'm putting my ear in the mud and I'm like, I don't care, I need my shoe. And I'm pulling. And I pull my shoe out and I stood there and the mud's just draining out of it. And here comes this day hiker and he goes, I guess that's not solid enough to walk through. And I'm like, go ahead. I think you'll find it pleasant. And I am covered in absolute filth from head to toe.
Oh,
it's like this black organic, like I've been rolling in fertilizer and I'm like, I guess I'm going to have a bath today. Welcome to Vermont. People come here and live in beautiful homes a mile away. Well,
The whole place smells like those little sheets that you throw in your dryer.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Maine is the most beautiful smelling state I have ever been in.
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting on a beach going, what the heck is that? And I'm like, is that an air freshener? And I'm trying to figure out, no, it's the air. The air freshener, people are trying to make it like the air there. And I went, I'll be damned. I didn't know that.
That's what this place smells
You
like.
guys are selling me on this.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Come to Maine. Come move to Maine, Travis.
Maine,
Maine.
Maine is like, if there were nothing else I would recommend it to somebody to do, would be the 100-mile wilderness. I just absolutely loved it. It's got a little of this, a little of that. I love waterfalls. So I had not really had many waterfalls in the South. And then I get there. First of all, Katahdin has such a cool waterfall. And then I went and found another one. Do you know about the Able waterfall?
A-ball, like a A-ball bridge.
Yeah.
A-B-O-L. Yeah.
Yeah. You saw it? You've seen it?
I can't. A-ball waterfall. Did we see that?
Yeah.
Megan,
Cool.
you know about the A-ball waterfall. I think
Seen it?
I think we're about to learn.
But anyways,
Chris,
yes.
you just suggested the top entry on my bucket list for me to go do.
Awesome.
The 100-mile wilderness is on the top of the list for me.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And it's
Oh,
really
I'm
the way
going.
I
I'm
did
going.
it. It's
That's
kind of
it.
starts easy and then it gets harder. The people going northbound, they're in mountains
Yeah.
right away and then they kind of ease out. And I'm like, I kind of like the way I did it because like I had all the lakes and all the waterfalls and I was just chillaxing. And all the Nobos are coming by and they're like all big eyed and like, hi. I'm like, where are you going? I'm going to the top. And I'm like, okay, have a nice day. They're powering through there. They have planned to do this in like 5 days, whatever. And I'm like, best of luck to you.
So that statement right there, too, by the way, reminds me of something I wanted to ask you when we were talking about statistics earlier about things that you tallied up. How many days was your through hike?
208.
That is a long through hike.
Well, you know, I was having fun.
I know. I'm not saying that in a bad way. That is an enviable amount of time to spend on the AT. It's almost at that borderline where like I know you're taking relatively easy days compared to someone who tries to tear through it in 100 or less. So
Yeah.
you're being easier on your body, but still, at some point there's an inflection point where you just spend too much time on the trail. Like a year will tear you down, even if you're doing like 8 miles a day.
Well, I'm going to respond to
200 days
that
feels-
question. When
Okay.
you did
Yeah.
an episode with Sir Pax-a-Lot,
Yes.
he mentioned a great story that said so many people are out here powering through this trail and they never go off and see the little blue blazes and check things
Yeah.
out. That spoke to me because when I listened to his story, I walked by where he talked about and I had no idea it was there.
Oh,
And
the
so-
place where they beheaded the
The conquistadors.
conquistadors. Yeah.
I just had passed it. And I went, oh, man. And that was the lesson I took in Georgia. I was in Sir Pax-a-Lot hostel when I heard the recording.
Oh,
and I
that's
went down
right.
there and I went, first of all, how'd you get your name?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, hey, I just heard your thing. And he's got these rules up there and stuff. And I
Yeah,
looked at
yeah.
him and I said, you know, I heard you talking about that. And he told me all kinds of things that really influenced my hike. But most of all, it was enjoy it. You're
Yes.
never going to be able to do this again. All those youngins over there, and he's right, they all talk about the next time I get to do this and when I do this and such. And I'm like, I ain't doing this again. This is my one shot. And I believe it was the 20th century poet Eminem who said, don't blow it.
So, Chris, when are we going to do the long trail?
The long trail. Oh my God, I love the long trail. First of all, my best, Travis, you just got to trust me on this, buddy. You just got to trust me. All right, here we go. We're in Vermont and we're heading south. At least I think I'm heading south. But I'm going to check because I see two hikers coming at me. Two hikers come up. First one's a guy, big guy. And I look at him and I said, "Hi, are you northbound?" And he says, "Yeah, I am on the long trail." And I went, "Oh, he has a German accent." And then we're talking. And if you ever get a chance in your life, if you know anyone who has a German accent, ask them to say the word Massachusetts.
Can you impersonate?
Never.
No.
But I loved it. And they'll do it. Like, we have this state here. What do you call it? Yes. He was trying to tell me, he was trying to say the mud goes from here all the way to Massachusetts. So in other words, when he first got on the long trail, he's going north. In Massachusetts, it was really muddy. And just apparently around Rutland, it kind of goes further up, but it gets rougher and it goes all the way up to Canada. So I was seeing the people who were doing the easy part. They were doing the AT long trail part. The part with the long trail is not on the AT, I have heard, which is further north, that's the hard part. But what does hard mean? For you, you might be like, yeah, why not? Let's go knock it out. But I'm sort of that build into it. I would start south in Massachusetts, Vermont, and go north. You're kind of getting your legs, you're kind of going up and down, you're doing pretty good before you hit the harder stuff heading towards Canada.
Wow.
That's good to me.
Did I not answer the question?
I don't even remember what the question
He
was.
said about the long trail.
Oh, just
the question,
the
but
long.
now I want to go hiking.
That was more of a writing prompt than a question.
Well,
Which is fine. I'm not complaining.
Sorry. I didn't have many people to talk to on the trail.
I know. You got really excited when you would run into people.
Yes, please, may I have a moment? To all of you who are
may
listening to
have
this
several.
and ran into me during the last, let's say, 100 miles, I had not spoken to anyone. I'm so sorry that I monopolized your time, but talking to people was like a breath of fresh air. It kind of like I had no idea what was going on in the world. And Travis, to your point, at some point, I always wanted to know what the news was, what's happened. At this point, what happened was that they said nothing's going on. And I was like, oh, good. We haven't had nuclear war. Everything's cool. So it's like this reassuring, oh, okay, because I'm really counting on the fact that there's a cheeseburger down there.
Priorities, man.
And I'd ask him, I'd be like, did you stop and get a
Priorities.
cheeseburger? No, I've heard they're kind of greasy. Really? Really? Sorry.
We're trying to lose weight up here. Yeah. I want to give.
To the German accent really quickly.
Yes. Can you do it?
Oh, let's hear
I
it.
went to Google and I found a video of German people trying to say Massachusetts.
Get out.
Uh-oh.
Get out. Oh, I love you, Megan.
I just put it in the chat.
Oh, I love you. That's perfect.
All right, we're gonna play. We're gonna play that later.
2009.
Have you heard it?
The mud goes all the way from here to Massachusetts.
I mean, all honesty, I usually can understand people pretty well. I had to ask him to say
so
it
angry and
a couple of
convincing.
times. And then finally I got it. I was like, he's telling me it goes to Massachusetts. It just took me a moment. Because I think he might have had a pause in there. So I'm thinking maybe it was 2 words. But yes.
Oh boy.
Vermud.
I
Yes.
encourage you all to watch that video.
We
Now,
will.
Here's something about going southbound.
Uh-huh.
You guys really get the bad end of a lot of surprises.
Who guys?
Nobos.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you a couple of them. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Mount Washington.
I've heard of it.
Yes. You're coming to it. You kind of knew it was going to be there.
Yes.
Not me. I'm walking along and all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck is
Oh
that?
yeah, you're already on top of it.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is go down.
Right. And then I'm like, actually walking around going, what on earth is this thing? So it kind of leans, going south, you definitely get more surprises. Another one was all the people that you meet coming who you've hiked with.
Mm-hmm.
But another one too, when
And
you're
they
going,
always want to know, are they always asking you, how's the whites?
yes, definitely. Once you hit, what's the college?
You guys, you did
Hanover.
not see this, but Chris's eyes rolled so hard, I thought we were going to have to call a eye doctor to fix his eyes.
Well, I mean, were you guys kind of worried about? I mean, this goes on for states.
Oh, dude, well, you know this. You start thinking about maybe you guys. I don't know. I started thinking about the whites while I was still in Virginia.
Oh man. Okay. But you're
Because people, you go to that
Thru
page.
hiker.
You go to that page that has Moosalak on it,
yes.
and it looks like. Okay, so if the elevation
beautiful.
profile of the AT was the line drawn by a polygraph, Musalak is that point where they start asking you questions about your browser history. Like, it just,
Yeah.
that line just goes all over the page, and you're like, what am I getting myself into? And you stare at it for weeks leading up to this. So, of course, you see the Southbounders, and you're like, oh, what am I getting myself into? Right?
Yeah, that's a very apt way that it happens. Is like, what did you think of it? And I the big advantage I had was that it built up, and I cannot. For me, that was really important because it's almost like you start at ones that go up 1, and then they're going up 2, and then they're going up 3, and then they're going up 4. It's kind of a natural progression,
Right,
and your body really kind of gets used to it. And I was telling Gamera that when you step sideways with your legs, those muscles on the outside and the inside of your leg, that's what gets worked in the whites.
Yeah.
And you're not using that through all your through hike. And so these muscles are not as strong as you're going forward. I guess it's your quads, right?
Yeah.
That are pulling you.
Your hip flexors and your IT band. Is that it? The IT band?
Yeah, whatever it is,
Your IT crowd gets pulled?
just the stepping sideways. I mean, did you experience that when you were in the whites?
I experienced that in the Smokies, actually.
Ah. Okay.
But I was also, I don't know, I was pushing myself a lot harder than I needed to, also.
Yeah.
Because of our late start. But yeah.
I think I got that because of my style of hiking.
Yeah, I was trying to keep up with Megan, and 22-year-old girl, 44-year-old guy. It's just no contest.
Well, and another thing, Travis,
Yo.
do you do yoga?
Me? No. Well, no. I grew up stretching, but that's something that I've
Can you tie your
put
shoes
aside.
without pain?
I do it now when I have to, which is the bad time to do it.
What's that? Tie your shoes?
Stretch.
Oh,
Well,
I mean, that's basically what yoga. I mean, it's strengthening, but it's a lot of stretching. And
Stretching,
Yeah, I should do more,
yes.
but I don't.
Well, you're gonna. The more you can do, especially now, stretching. The one thing about yoga is it kind of makes you stretch into kind of bizarre configurations, and you'll end up stretching a muscle that perhaps might give you trouble on the trail if you don't. When it starts kind of nagging at you, if you know how to get to it and stretch it, you'll be a lot happier than if you're like, how do I get to this little bad boy? Because it's those little ones that are kind of buried underneath that they kind of nag at you, and then they're keeping you up at night. And because your big ones are like, whatever, they toughen up really good. But like I was mentioning, that like kind of stepping sideways and doing those things. If yoga seems to be kind of that overall, because like think about carrying the weight on your back. What do you call these? Your trapezius, and so forth.
Oh yeah.
That the weight is pulling on those all day long. So you having an ability to know how to move your body so you can stretch these things out is a big plus on the trail.
And shoulder blades.
Add
Ooh.
something in about those smaller muscles. So the big muscles is like where a lot of the power for hiking comes from. Big muscles that are powerful. A lot of the smaller ones, they're stability muscles. So if you don't have a lot of balance or stability, something that's gained through a lot of different activities, including yoga, you're going to have a hard time when your body tries to use those. And then if you think about it, when you're walking and you're hiking, you're carrying so much more weight on your back. Those stability muscles are so much more important because that's what prevents you from having poor biomechanics and then causing an injury. So, they're science.
What else comes about as a result of doing that all day, every day is mental stability too.
Oh yeah.
For almost the
Very
same.
nice transition, Gary.
And I think for many of the same reasons too. You're gaining the stability in your core from all of the the surprise resisting you're having to do by going different directions. There's the little ups and downs, not just physically, but things that are, it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster as well. Now, when so it is 8:00, and I know we're always trying to keep our recording sessions to 90 minutes or less. When we get back, I've got a list of questions and story points and like we could probably do this for 2 more hours easily, but we're not. So what I'd like to do is I want you guys who are on the line to think about any questions that you want to ask in a few minutes. Just open up the line. Anything at all you can think of that you want to ask Chris about his hike, the experience, how he prepared, how he feels after, whatever's on your mind. While you're thinking about that, I want to go to this list that Chris and Katie put together while while we were hanging out and they were in the other room. And I just want to pick one thing from this list and tell us a story. I think I know which one I want to hear, but if you have one that you prefer, you just let us.
There's stories, and then there's a sense of humor.
What's the sense of humor one? I want to hear about
if
that.
somebody asked me the one thing that will help you to complete the trail, it's having a sense of humor. And
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that almost everybody that I saw who was having a good time, they kind of had an enthusiasm and a buoyancy about the way that they hiked. The people who just didn't have the sense of humor, they always kind of seemed to be dragging. And then when I was going southbound and seeing who had made it now to Vermont and New Hampshire and so forth, it was the ones who I knew had great senses of humor. I just always knew that about them. I'm like, oh yeah, they're laughing all the time. They get all the jokes.
Okay.
They're not that serious, focused kind of hiker. They tended to be more buoyant in their personalities and so forth. And I think it's because they just seem to enjoy themselves when they're doing it, and they're doing it every day. If you enjoy it, I think you can stick with it a lot better.
I'm going to just completely play devil's advocate here and take a position I don't necessarily believe in. I just want to say just the complete opposite. There are tons of people who finish the trail every season who started with a spreadsheet and measured their pack down to the individual grams of weight and made sure that they hit every single blaze without missing any and kept to a strict timeline and had a fully rewarding experience.
Yeah, I don't see why any of that would keep you from not having a sense of humor, especially doing all of that.
Yeah, but
let me just tell you a story that Moxie was like that. Okay, she had gone through and she had watched videos and she had notes and she wrote things. Mm-hmm. So here's a sense of humor moment, okay? We're sitting there and we're listening, and I'm listening to her, and she's sort of reading her notes, and she's saying, 1.2 miles to water and this and this and this, and she stops and she goes, huh. And I look over and written on her page is the word no. Big letters with 3 exclamation points. No. And she goes, I wrote no. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, we're going to go find out. And that was it. She was exactly everything you said. She had a great sense of humor.
Okay.
So it was just when you trip and fall, if it just ruins your whole day, versus you trip and fall and you go, really, seriously, what was that all about? And you kind of laugh about it. Find the humor in the situation is, I guess, what I'm saying.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Not just most of the advice that applies to the trail also applies in life. I mean, that's a good way to just kind of be, not necessarily just a hike.
As someone who did not plan, you planners, love you. God, I love you people.
Don't lump me in with those people.
If I run into somebody like that, I was like, hi. And so what do you know about the next town? Because they are a walking encyclopedia. They have researched the trail from one end to the other.
Okay.
And I was like, I just follow white braces. I knew nothing about the AT when I hiked it. And so for me, I wanted to experience it as it is rather than the people going, oh, here's what you're going to experience. And so that idea really kind of led to when I didn't realize how many people fall. First time I fell, I was like right in front of my hiking buddy, and he was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just fell. But after that, I found out people fall all the time. And I went, I would not have known that when I was starting the hike, that it was a common thing.
Actually one of the weird statistics that I used to keep track of. I think, Megan, you and I had I don't know if you did too. I feel like for a long time we had a fall count. Like, at least for the first half of the hike, we were keeping track of how many times we'd fallen.
Well, that's because I didn't really fall.
And that's exactly because neither one of us ever really fell for like a really long time. I think by the time we got to Virginia,
roll my ankle really severely, but not fall from it.
Right? Yeah, like a couple of little stumbles, and I think we went so far as to define a fall is we had criteria. You fell if some part of your body from the waist up unintentionally touches the ground. And
Right. Like it could be a stumble, and you could be doing like a split leg thing, but
Yeah.
your trekking poles are still bracing you, and you're just doing a split. That doesn't count. Or your knee could touch the ground. Your knee
I've
could
done the
touch the
shuffle.
ground, but everything else is kind of upright,
Yeah.
and your torso hasn't been touched. I remember my very first legitimate fall,
it was
and it was
where was it?
dramatic. It was in the Smokies.
Uh-huh.
And this was back when I was rocking the frog talks.
Uh-huh.
So I was rocking my beige large frog talks.
The garbage
They
bag
large
pants.
or not, but they were super baggy on me. And I ditched them after that, I think.
I think I
But
was
yeah,
there. I think I remember. I think I was there when that happened because I remember you hit the ground and you were like, "Fuck! I fell!"
Yeah.
And I was like,
think
"Oh my
you
god, are
heard
you
it. I don't know if
okay?"
you saw it.
And you were.
Did you
and-
see it?
Yeah, because I heard your reaction and I thought, "Oh my god, Megan's hurt," and I like ran up to you and like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, I'm fucking pissed." I had a perfect score.
So I got mud all the way on my left side, all the way from my leg, like up to my hip. And then like it got onto my shoulder. And I think I might have even got some in my hair. Like it was a full fall. And my fault was this was my bad. The problem with how I approached the trail that day is I was trying to not really get all that wet. Like I didn't really want my shoes to get wet.
Right.
So I thought that I was going to be a genius. And I was gonna hike around the mud.
Oh
Excuse my
yeah,
language.
bad hiker. Bad
That
hiker.
was my bad.
You gotta go
don't
through.
and in the Smokies, the trail's really deep in the Smokies because it's been there for a long time, and there's a lot of water erosion. So you've got like at least a foot on either side where like you know what I'm talking about?
You're walking in a ditch.
Yeah. You're in a.
You're
ditch.
walking in a ditch, essentially. Yeah. So I thought I would be genius and like go up around the ditch. And then, my foot just slid right down. It was, yeah. Yeah. So that was my bad. But I do remember that fall.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think for a while there, like the count was like one fall each by the time we got to Virginia. And then Pennsylvania, we fell like 3 times. and then I think by the time you get to Vermont or New Hampshire, you're falling 3 times per day, and then you just stop.
At some point, you
counting.
just like get on your butt and slide and go, you know what? Screw it.
This is easier.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
When you went through the whites, because now you're crawling on rocks and stuff, did you notice all the scabs on your legs? Or were you wearing like long pants?
Oh, I wore long pants exclusively through the whites. Well, unless I knew I wasn't going to be
You're crawling. Yeah.
super steep. But no, I don't think I got too many scrapes on my legs, honestly.
Well, Travis, I recommend long
A
pants
really
for the
big
whites.
scrape on my leg was walking in hot springs, and I fell on pavement.
Right?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, you got it. You hit concrete and that's it. Gone.
Yeah, and you were
that-
sober
I
too,
was-
weren't you?
I was walking into town, and I decided that I was going to put my trekking poles away. And it was the first like major town that I had walked into. And I was like so proud of myself because I hadn't fallen. Again, had not fallen. So I guess Hot Springs was technically my first fall, even though it wasn't on the trail.
I don't think it counts if you're on pavement.
Hey, I was there.
Smooth,
I
dry-
fell down, but
you know that time. That was actually the first time I met you, Travis.
yeah, I remember.
Dry pavement, and I fell face first because I
Ow.
wasn't using my trekking poles.
Oh, that just sounds like it hurts. Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. My pants had no damage to them. So I thought, oh, yeah, everything's fine. It just hurts. And then later on that evening, I realized that I had to peel my leggings off of my knee.
Oh,
And a whole layer of skin came
Ouch.
off with it. And I still have a scar.
that's
Really? Did you
that
take a
sounds
lot
like
of
pain.
vitamin I? And
At that point, I think I was, for pain, I was mostly doing naproxen. That's Aleve instead of the ibuprofen. It just works for me better. Also, you have to take fewer pills.
Yeah, it's
Right,
easier
right.
on your.
So it worked with my schedule is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to open it up to you guys. I know y'all have been kind of just shouting out your questions as you think of them, but maybe if there's anyone in the room who hasn't had a chance to ask a question yet, if you want to either type it or just.
I have a question for
unmute your
Travis.
mic and shout it out. Go ahead.
Me?
Question for you. These
What's up?
pictures that you're posting in our chat, are these from recently?
These are a compilation of many trips that I've gone on by myself and with Gary. Most of them are from Pisgah National Forest. There's a few, the ones with the big vista. Some of them are from Roan Highlands. The
I did
others
see one
are
that had to be Roan.
Yeah, the ones with the rhododendrons are from Roan, and some of them are actually from
For
Shining Rock.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's a lot of good trips with
Travis, I got to tell you a story about something that happened to me. That was just good news. I just thought of it. One time I met this guy who's a fisherman, and he caught all these gorgeous rainbow trout, and he was like, "Would you like one?" And I was like, "Would I ever?" I was like a kid. I was like, "Would I ever?"
Hey, I think I know what story this is.
It's absolutely. You were there. It was absolutely true.
Yeah.
No, you weren't there.
Well, I was
You
there.
weren't there.
I was about.
Did he
10
did he
miles
cook
away.
up?
About
Did
10
he
miles
cook up
away.
all those fresh caught trout and feed them to you?
He absolutely handed me this packet of aluminum foil, and it was like a present. It was hot plate, but he hands me aluminum
Hot
foil,
present.
and I open it up, and inside was this fish, and it had been cooked to perfection with lemon and seasoning, and I was like, "This is nice hiking."
And we're out in the
And-
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it was just so flaky and good, and I was like, "Man, I could see somebody in some New York restaurant paying a lot of money to have this stuff," and the guy just was like, "Here, you want to eat it?" And I'm
that
like,
was a $22 meal right there. 20
Yeah.
at least.
I think for a while my trail name Moxie wanted to name me Ice for I can eat.
Oh,
Because
okay.
every time something was left over, I'd be like, anybody want? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Hiker Hunter's a real
Speaking
thing.
of trail names that
I remember
are-
you had some Nor pasta or something shitty, and I was laying down some fresh caught trout in your lap, and you're like, nom nom nom.
even if you don't like fish, there's just something about a trout that was caught just a few feet away, cooked
Yeah.
on a fire.
The
from
protein.
It's just
Yeah.
something just primal
That was
and
fun. That was a
so
really fun
good.
trip.
Yeah. 100-mile wilderness. At
Yeah.
every lake, I was with a guy, two brothers, Tree Breaker and Fish. And Fish is humping a fly rod. He's coming through here. And
Is Fish the guy with two eyes?
No, that's a girl her trail name is Fish with two eyes.
FIISH, which
Stands
is it an acronym or an initialism? I always get those two mixed up.
I want to go with acronym because it stands
Because it
for-
spells something you can pronounce.
Yes.
And
which is
Fish stands for
F it. I'm stopping here.
you can
Apparently, that's how she ended each day.
Fuck it, I'm
But
stopping here.
Travis, for sure, the 100-mile wilderness, all the lakes, you hike from lake to lake, and it's like
I'm going, man.
they're amazing.
Going.
They're amazing. And right when you get to the river at the south end of Baxter, it's like there's a little like a sliding rock, and that is like a whole rafting company came through there, and I was in there sliding down with them down this little sliding rock. It's right there on the river, and that whole creek all the way up is just absolutely gorgeous. The water coming off of Katahdin is like it has no biology in it at all. So I don't know if I was kind of curious to see if there'd be like any kind of trout or anything in it. But you notice how clear that water was coming down Katahdin?
Oh, the water coming from Katahdin is it is as clear as air.
Yeah.
The streams almost look empty. The water is so clear. It's almost creepy.
It's very, very pretty, though.
Yeah.
Amazingly pretty.
Yep. All right, so we got a couple of questions in the chat room. Lobster, this is a question actually that was asked earlier, and we never really got around to it. This is a good. We started. You were doing this epic description of your hike, and we got distracted when you picked up the pink MP3 player and kind of went off the rails. But let's talk about the finish of your hike. What's it like to finish somewhere that's not like one of the big, like, either finish at Springer or Katahdin, one of the ends? What's it like to finish in the middle, and what was your finish like?
That's a great question, by the way, because I really wrestled with that. I was not going to summit Katahdin and finish. I was going to summit Katahdin and turn around and go back and really start another through hike.
Yeah.
So when I did Katahdin, I didn't have the beautiful view, and my empathy went out. I went, oh man, if I were Nobo and climbed up here and had a day like today, I don't know, that would have been a really bad ending for me, I think.
You think?
I think so, because it was so many times I had been to views and got nothing. And so forth. That was okay. But the last one,
This better be the best.
I wanted to be able to see. And the thing about Katahdin is the way it sits above everything. This was going to be an epic view. This wasn't going to be some little hole in the trees that you were going for. This was something.
Yeah, 360 glory.
Yeah. And I could see maybe 15 feet. So for me, it became, I had stopped on the south side of I guess it's the Potomac River, or I'm guessing the south side of it. And so to go from the north side of it to the south side, you have to cross a bridge.
Right.
And I had heard that bridge had gone underwater, and when it does, they don't allow it. And that kind of became my Katahdin, was that bridge. And the Potomac is such a beautiful river through there. It reminds me of the home river here near Asheville called the French Broad. And as you're going along the Potomac,
which we've kayaked together a few times. In fact, you pulled me out of the French Broad more than once.
but I saved your gloves.
Saved one of my gloves.
Was it one?
We saved one of my gloves.
Oh, well, I tried. But the Potomac became my end. And so I came to it, and it was just this beautiful view of the river and rapids. And then there was a bridge. And that bridge was just amazing to me, just to kind of walk across it. And a lot of civilians were just out there for the day.
Civilians.
But I'm carrying my pack and looking haggard, and as you just described me. And I was elated as somebody who was going to Katahdin, I'm sure, because I had done it. I had gotten to the end. I had stood on the other side of that shore. I recognized the ruins. Yeah. There's a ruined church there. And I'm like, I've seen that church. I have walked back to where I've been before. I know I've completed this trail.
And what happened when you got to that bridge?
I had to go uphill to the ATC.
You were filming, you were talking.
Okay. You want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell Travis because he doesn't know any of this. Travis, if you go to the Amicalola,
the rest of you guys can listen too.
State Falls Approach Trail, if you decide to do the falls, which I highly recommend, you will be walking up metal stairs. As you get to the top of the falls, the stairs go away and you're just hiking on a AT trail and off you go. Well, it never occurred to me that my finish would also include climbing up metal stairs.
Yeah.
And so when I got to the bridge, I just decided as I started climbing these, I'm like, wow, what a bookend. And as I was climbing, I decided I was going to do a little video for my grandchildren. And I said, this is it. I'm climbing stairs and I've gone all these miles. What I didn't realize is there was all these people at the very top of the stairs and they could hear every word I was saying. And so when I got to the top, I kind of looked around and I was like, I kind of shut my phone off. Like, I don't want to appear to be a weirdo. And they all started cheering for me. And it was very touching. It really was. And then everybody on the bridge had heard them cheering for me. So they're all looking at me. And as I'm walking by, they're all high-fiving me as I'm going across the bridge. And so when I climbed Katahdin, I was by myself the whole way. There was nobody there. And I actually turned around and started back before anybody ever came up. Because it was just a day. You know, it was raining and it was kind of like thunderstorms were forecast. And I heard thunder and I went, I got to go. Because I don't do thunder above tree line. Sorry. It's just, I'm this close to wetting my pants. So, the finish was just, and then at the ATC, they were so great. They had non-alcoholic champagne for me.
Nice.
Being a through hiker, somebody handed me a cold drink. I downed it.
Whatever it is,
like,
I'll
they
take
kind
it.
of politely were like, we're going to have a toast. I'm like, okay. So they pour me some more and I drank it again. And they're like, you don't really get the idea of a toast, are you? I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to drink it.
Yeah, you have to wait.
I could not imagine that. I was just like the cold, and I hadn't had anything bubbly in so long. It was just, it took me a minute to think about, oh yeah, I'm back in this real world thing where you don't drink something handed to you. I have to hold it in my hand.
Well, hold your drink in your hand now, because we're all, Katie and Chris and I are going to raise a glass. I hope you guys at home are raising a glass too as well. Cheers. Congratulations. We got to start with you. We got to turn around with you in the middle. I love hearing about the finish. I know we could easily just keep talking for like 5 more hours, and we probably will. We're going to turn off the microphones here and eat some pizza and continue talking for 5.5 hours more about this, because it's such. Oh man,
It's once in a lifetime thing. And if you cannot talk for a while about a once in a lifetime adventure that takes you nearly 7 months. You're probably not. I don't know. You must not be a storyteller, I'm guessing.
And well, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Well, thanks for kind of being on my mind. Can I tell one last story so we can go?
Oh, absolutely, please.
All right, it's the counting your chickens before they're hatched story.
Okay.
I was dying to call Gary and say,
I
guess who's almost done? I only got X number of miles, and so I'm sitting at this beautiful overlook in Pennsylvania, and Gary's from there. And I'm looking to the east, and I'm not sure. Did Gary come from the east part or the west part? And so as I'm sitting up there, and I thought about calling him. The wind's blowing, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to call him. And then there was this sort of karmic thing, like, don't go getting all cocky. Mm-hmm. I'm coming down off of it. I think it was called High Ledges, and I'm in Pennsylvania, and I fell, like not like Megan describes falling. Let me put it this way: I showed Gary my scab.
Yeah,
So,
he's got a gnarly. It's
I hit
gruesome.
the ground like a sack of potatoes, and I'm just laying there. And unlike Megan, who just goes, "Oh," my thought process was, "I'm alive. I am not squirting blood. Nothing's broken but my ego. And how the hell am I going to get up with my
You'll
pack?"
be stone dead in a moment.
I'm laying I must have been laying there for about 5 minutes going,
"'Tis but a scratch."
I can get up anytime. No, it feels pretty good just to sit here for a minute. Wallow in the fact that if I had called Gary and given him crap,
I could have heard it happen in real time.
I would have broke my arm or broke something, and then somebody come along and found me, and I'd been like, I have to go to the doctor. No. You are not going to finish the trail. No, you cannot. I'll be like, I was 6 miles away.
Now you're bleeding all over.
Yeah. No, it was very, I bled. Yes, I bled, but I did not make the call. I did not let Gary know I was finished until I had crossed the bridge.
The blood goes all the way to Massachusetts.
I have got to go see that. Megan, thank you. Travis, thank you. You guys have been awesome.
Chris, thank you. Thank you everybody for tuning in.
Good to hear from you.
We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much. Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. This week, as always, we had music by Lee Rosevere, with our intro theme being improvised by Fishhook. That's Travis. Your hosts are me, Gary Sizer, a.k.a. Green Giant, and Megan Thompson, a.k.a. Voldemort. If you'd like to be in the chat room and join in on the live stream, we always post links to our Discord on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/storiesfromthetrail, or in our Facebook group, which you can find by going to Facebook and typing in Stories from the Trail. The show is recorded, mixed, edited by me, Gary Sizer, here at Blanket Fort Studios, which, of course, is just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening.
Tamatawaka Tang Hanga Koayo Teturi Puka Kapi Kima. I got lost.